In this second video on Rise of the Empire, we're going to take a look at some of the new components and features that are added in this expansion. The K2SO sponsor of this video is Jesse Rodeheaver. First up, some units and leaders roll green dice, which have 2 direct hit icons on them and 4 blanks. These dice work as normal during combat, and a player cannot roll more than 3 of them throughout combat. Many of the new units use green dice for their attacks, and can be used in addition to the red and black dice from adjoining units. The Nebulon B frigate, for example, rolls 2 green dice during combat. When an ability, like in Death Star plans, asks a player to roll dice, the player must use the red and black dice, unless specified otherwise. Rise of the Empire comes with 8 new leaders, 4 for each faction. These leaders will have minor skills, which are represented by small skill icons. Every minor skill icon allows for the leader to roll 1 green die when involved in a mission. Jabba the Hutt has 2 minor skills, 1 for intel and 1 for diplomacy. Minor skills can count towards fulfilling skill requirements on mission cards, so Jyn Erso can fulfill intel requirements up to 3 with her skills. Note that when the leader pool contains more than 8 leaders, the player will decide which to keep and discard any in excess of 8 leaders. Next up are target markers, which are used by certain objective and mission cards. Note that the art matches the artwork on the corresponding card. Target markers are placed as indicated by the cards in certain systems. Secure the Plans, for example, allows the player to place a marker in a remote system, and while this marker is in play, the rebel player cannot play the Death Star Plans objective card. If a player has a ground unit in a system containing a target marker, and the opposing player no longer has ground units there, the player can choose to remove the marker. This may cause certain effects, according to the card, but afterwards the marker is placed back in the supply. If a system is destroyed, then all target markers in that system are also removed, with any effects of doing so resolved. Note that some objective cards use the word immediate. When one of these is drawn into the rebel player's hand, the player immediately reveals, then resolves that ability. Raid Outpost, for example, has the Imperial player place target markers, and when those are removed, the rebel player gains reputation. Now let's look at some of the new units and their abilities. There are some new space and ground units, like the U-Wing, Rebel Vanguard, Assault Tanks, and the TIE Striker, which act similarly to the previous units we've seen in the core game. Others, like the Interditer, have special rules. For example, the Interditer disallows rebel units from retreating from any system they share. The Imperial player's shield bunkers are also a little more complex. When a shield bunker exists in the same system as a Death Star, whether it is under construction or not, that Death Star cannot be destroyed, take damage, or even be assigned damage. This also makes them immune to the Death Star Plan's objective card. Once there are no longer any shield bunkers in that system, this no longer applies. Shield bunkers also have easy deployment, meaning they can also be deployed to any system that contains at least 1 Imperial ground unit, with no rebel units, disregarding the planet's loyalty. Finally, shield bunkers have local reinforcements, in which a shield bunker in any remote system not containing rebel units may deploy units to that system as if it were loyal. Note that this cannot be used during the same build step in which the bunker was deployed. One last note before we finish this segment. All mobile ground units are structures. Normally, if a player's only remaining ground units in a system are structures, and the opponent has ground units in that system, the structures are destroyed. Now, if the player rolled at least 1 die in that theater's battle that round, the structures are not destroyed, and instead, another round of combat is resolved. Note, although some abilities allow or force units to move, these abilities cannot be used to move structures. In the next video, we'll be taking a look at cinematic combat. The executive sponsor of this series is Gabriel Thorn.